teach you how to make a tomahawk out of a farrier's rasp. I know a lot of these videos have been done before, and I'm just going to show you how I've learned to do it. I know there's a couple different ways to do it, and there's critics. People like their way over other ways, but I'm going to show you the way I do it. Taught by Donovan Crawford. I believe that a gentleman by the name of Bill Davis taught him. And we are going to show you how to get to this step, and then forge well, and then get to an actual tomahawk axe head. First things first, what I usually like to do is I usually like to get my ruler, set it on top of my anvil, and I'll take my soapstone, and I'm going to mark a mark at 3 inch, at 6 inch, and at 10.5 inches. That way I have my reference points on the side of my anvil. Now this is just soapstone. This is like a high tempered chalk almost, to where when I mark on my steel, you can still kind of see it. And a lot of people use this for welding and whatnot, but I just marked out 10.5, 6 inches, 3 inches, and then 10.5 inches by using my ruler. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to square off this nose. A lot of people like to cut this wedge off, or that round part nose off. I particularly don't. I leave it on. It's just an extra step, and you're sacrificing a little bit of steel. The only reason what I'm doing is I am squaring that off at the end. That way I have a square point to start from when I measure it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay it down on my anvil. I'm going to get my flesh mark with the heel of my anvil. I'm going to go off my reference points, and I'm going to mark it at 3 inches. 6 inches, and 10.5 inches. And then we're going to stick it in the fire. What I'm sticking in first is I'm not sticking a whole full steel in there. I'm actually just sticking really the nose of it in there, as you can see. I've got that in there. I'm going to let it get to heat, and then what we're going to do is I'm actually going to use a Hardy tool cutter. Stick it right there in my anvil, my Hardy hole in my anvil. And I'm not going to cut all the way through. I'm going to be very, very careful. I'm going to use a low-weighted hammer. I don't want to use an aggressive face hammer, so I'm actually going to use this 1,000 gram German hammer. Just got done getting all the sharp edges off of it, just putting it on the face. That way, it's not going to really mar my steel. But this thing just came in. I just got this today, literally like 5 minutes ago, and I've been itching to use it. It does the same principle as my Nordic hammers. They are also flattening style hammers. Here's my 1,000 gram Nordic hammer. It's a little bit more robust, a little shorter. And this is just got a little length to it, so it needs to be a little bit more leverage. I'm using my 2-inch box jaw tongs. We are to heat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that right where that line is, and I'm going to give her a smack. What we've done is we put a grease in there. Now, I'm going to fold her over. Heat on her. Now Now remember, heat is your friend. You don't ever want to force the steel. How it was a little fighting me there, it was cooling off, but this anvil has not. What I usually do for a tip is I'll take a piece of steel, get it heating in my forge before I start forging, and I'll actually lay it on my anvil and let the anvil just suck. Try to draw some coolness out of that anvil. That way I have a nice little mediocrely warm anvil face to work with. I'm just kind of going cold today, so. Alright, we're going to smack that over. And obviously, since we scored it, it's going to give us a better bend. You can do this without scoring it. I just like the fact that it gives me a little more neater creases on it, a little better of a bend. And of course, this one right here, you can see it's pretty tight. We actually did that, cut that with an angle grinder, or chop saw, excuse me. No, angle grinder. We did it with an angle grinder. It kicked it back. I didn't want to use the angle grinder. It's just so much easier for me to put that Hardy cutter on here. But if you don't have a Hardy tool or a good anvil, an anvil with a Hardy hole in it, you can just use an angle grinder. Just be careful. Not, like I said, you're not trying to go all the way through. You're just trying to score the metal. I'm just going to flatten that out. I'm really focusing on keeping everything as close together as possible. And that's why I wanted to score that. But there you see it. We have our first bolt. It's nice, tight, full. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stick it in a little further. Take that 6-inch or the 10.5-inch mark or that 6-inch mark, and we're going to bend it on this anvil. I use the horn sometimes. Sometimes I just use the shoulders is enough, and it bends right over. And it actually, you'll see it start to create its own eye hole. And we just have to go in with the drift, or a piece of 1-inch pipe. That's what I used to do all my eye holes with before I got my Tomahawk drift. Just got it today as well. It's kind of hard to get the whole workstation throughout. Once again, want to keep it as tight as possible. You want to keep it as warm as possible. We're going to go ahead and get her back to the fire. But you can already see that eye hole is starting to take shape. It's going to save me time on drifting or using drift when it's already kind of naturally formed. A lot of people what they like to do is they like to work their eye area down, and it kind of gives that almost a false look of that belly of that Tomahawk flared open because they worked the back end down. I want to leave that full width of that rasp around my eye for strength and aesthetics. I don't want it to be so narrow and then have a nice flared axe head. I want it to look robust and be hardy all the way through it. So that's why I don't really work down my eye hole that much. And when I do work on the eye hole, I make sure that I knock this back a little. There we go. As you can see, we already got that eye forming pretty nice and tight. We're going to stick her in the forge. Get her hot again. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn up the forge. Because now I need to reach forge welding temperatures. So I had to regulate my forge up. I turn it up to about, on this particular forge, about 8.5 pounds of pressure is where it needs to be at. So 8.5 psi is what I turn my forge up to. Now I'm running a 3-burner Majestic forge here. I got that 3-burner Majestic forge. Does really, really well. Gets up to heat really, really quick. She's roaring, as you can hear. She'll be up the forge temp pretty well. Pretty easy. And you guys saw that I left the tang of that rasp on there. And that's actually what I'm using to grip onto, and it makes for a hell of a hole. I'll switch up to my smaller 1-inch box shells. Slide right on there real nice. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna address this unevenness real quick. Just drive this back down. Nice and even. We're going to get her up the forge welding temp in no time. You can already see she's glowing. She's glowing right now. So, when I go into forge welding, we're going to flex it real good, stick it in. We're not even going to hit it. We're going to flex it real good, stick it in, let it get hot again, bring it out. Brush it off real good, flex it again, stick it back in. We're going to do that 3 times before I even start the forge weld. That we're going to flex it first. Try not to go too crazy with the flux. Everywhere. I think right now we're reaching the 15-minute mark, and we're already jumping on it. So now we've achieved this look. Now what we're trying to do is up all these seams and make it one chunk of metal to where it's going to look something like this. I want all those conjunctions, all those joining points, I want them to marry together really, really well. Just like I tell everybody, the metal will tell you what it wants you to do. The steel will tell you what it wants you to do. And the steel will start, literally, it'll start kind of look like it's pulling itself together and refining itself, almost pre-welding itself. And that's when it's time. So that was my second flux. Get you a shot of that forge. There she is. Of course, we want this to go well, because, you know, it's on video. Really trying to make sure that core gets good and hot. On this, and look at it, it's already starting to kind of close up on its own. That's what I really like to see. Steel kind of doing work for us. It's always good when your steel's working with you, not against you. All right, when we pull it out this time, I'm going to take a light German hammer. It's a nice, any square face hammer will work. Flat faced hammer will work as long as it's smooth. Any hammer you use in your shop for smoothing out stuff, that's what you want to go with. That's going to be your Germans, your Vaughns, your Nordic, your American cross peas. All those guys, you know, your Swedish is more for stretching, round hammer. If you got a flat face on the back of a rounding hammer, that's good too. That's when you need to use that flat face. toasting. Here we go, moment of truth. Let it get a little bit hot. So just a little bit more. I'm going to work on the outside parts of it. I'm just going to tap it. I'm not even going to tap on the core. Just kind of making a box all the way around it on the outer edges of where I want to weld. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape it real good. All that slag going everywhere. What you need to check out is that right there. Look at that. Woo! It's closing up very nicely. We're almost to the 25-minute mark. I think we'll be able to do it in the next 5 minutes, and then we'll do a part 2 of me actually forging out the hop. It's really nice that I have to leave it in there longer to get heat than it's taking me to forge weld it, so that's a good sign. That I like to do is I like to take these little ball peen hammerheads and we'll drift them out, drift out the eye holes, and then we'll forge them out and make tomahawks out of them. Nice little miniature boarding axe. Playing with a couple different styles on them as well. We're ready to go. Just again, on the edges. Edges only. I see them closing up. I like it. We're almost welded together. We're almost one solid piece. I'm going to let it get to temp again. And now I'm going to go straight down the center and around, working myself back to me. Trying to get this video I'm working right on top of the forge, so it is a little warm, so bear with me. Haven't quite got to that 30-minute mark yet. Alright. Brush this real quick. Show you guys the fireworks. Ladies and gentlemen, forge welded tomahawk head out of a Farrier's rasp. Tune in for part 2. That was 29 minutes and 10 seconds. So be ready for part 2. We're going to flare this thing out, drift a eye in it, put a handle on it.